Let's get right into it. Number 6. Wearing slippers indoors like your life depends on it. Japan takes the whole shoes off at the door thing to a level that would make your grandmother weep with pride. But it's not just about keeping the floors clean though. Yes, that's part of it. It's about creating a psychological boundary between the chaos of the outside world and the sanctuary of your home. The moment you slip off your outdoor shoes and slide into those house slippers, your brain gets a signal. We're safe now. We're home. Here's where it gets interesting. This simple act of changing footwear actually triggers a mental reset. Your nervous system, which has been in low-level fight-or-flight mode while navigating trains, crowds, and social obligations, finally gets permission to downshift. It's like closing all the tabs on your browser after a long workday. The Japanese have essentially hacked the transition between work mode and rest mode with footwear. And they don't stop there. Many homes have separate slippers for the bathroom. Yes, you read that right, bathroom-specific slippers. Because, apparently, your regular house slippers are too good for that particular room. It sounds excessive until you realize it's just another micro-boundary that keeps spaces mentally organized. Your brain loves this stuff. It craves clear distinctions between different zones and activities. The genius part? This costs basically nothing and takes zero effort once it becomes habit. You're literally just changing shoes. But the psychological payoff, the sense of order, cleanliness, and intentional living is massive. Basically, the Japanese turned footwear into a mindfulness practice, and nobody noticed. Number 5. Tiny cleanup reflex. In Japan, people clean up after themselves everywhere. Schools, public spaces, even stadiums after games. No one's waiting for a magical janitor to descend from the heavens. And that habit does something weirdly powerful. It builds collective responsibility. Your brain starts seeing spaces as shared, not disposable. Cleaning isn't just cleaning. It's ownership. It's respect. It's the opposite of the someone else will deal with it mentality that turns cities into trash-themed escape rooms. On a personal level, cleaning up immediately also reduces mental clutter. Mess is like visual noise. Your brain keeps tracking it in the background, like an open browser tab of stress. So when you wipe the table or pick up trash, you're not just being polite. You're closing mental pop-ups. Basically, your brain breathes easier when your environment isn't screaming at you. Number 4. The art of fixing things, instead of replacing them. Some people have a phone case held together with duct tape and pure determination. In Japan, this isn't embarrassing, it's a philosophy called motenai, which is essentially the idea that waste is shameful. Not in a guilt-trippy way, but in a, why would you throw away something that still works, kind of way. Broke a bowl? Fix it with kintsugi, the art of repairing pottery with gold. Shirt has a hole? Patch it with visible stitching that becomes part of the design. Western consumer culture has trained us to see broken things as trash. Your toaster stops working? Buy a new one. Your jeans rip? Time for a new pair. But this constant replacement cycle does something weird to your brain. It reinforces the idea that nothing has lasting value, that everything is disposable, including your own efforts and belongings. You end up in this low-level state of dissatisfaction where nothing ever feels quite good enough because you're always mentally shopping for the next thing. The Japanese approach flips this. When you repair something, you're investing time and care into an object, which makes you value it more. Psychologically, this is called the IKEA effect. People disproportionately love things they've put effort into, but it goes deeper. Motenai isn't just about saving money or being eco-friendly. It's about building a relationship with your stuff, where things aren't just temporary placeholders, they're artifacts of your life. And that mindset shift makes you feel wealthier, even if your bank account says otherwise. Number 3. Apologizing for things that aren't your fault. In Japan, people say sumimasen constantly. It means, excuse me, or I'm sorry, and it gets deployed for everything bumping into someone, asking a question, existing near another human being. To outsiders, it looks like pathological over-apologizing, like everyone's walking around drenched in unnecessary guilt. But here's the thing, it's not about fault. It's about acknowledging impact. Western culture has this obsession with blame. It's not my fault, is a reflex, a shield, a way to protect your ego from any hint of responsibility. But the Japanese apology isn't an admission of wrongdoing, it's a social lubricant. It says, I see that my presence caused a disruption, however small, and I acknowledge that. You're not groveling. You're just being aware that you exist in relation to other people, and sometimes your existence inconveniences them. That's not weakness. That's emotional intelligence. Psychologically, this does something interesting. When you apologize reflexively, you're diffusing tension before it even builds. You're taking the sharpness out of interactions. And because everyone's doing it, nobody's walking around with their defenses up, ready to argue about who's technically at fault. It creates a culture where people aren't constantly protecting their egos, which means less conflict, less resentment, and weirdly, more self-respect. Because when you're not obsessed with being right all the time, you can actually focus on being decent. So maybe saying sorry for things that aren't your fault isn't spineless. Maybe it's just understanding that sometimes being kind matters more than being correct. Number 2, respecting schedules like they're laws of physics. If a train in Japan says it's arriving at 9:14 a.m., it arrives at 9:14 a.m., not 9:15, not 9:13, exactly 9:14. If it's late by even a minute, the company issues a formal apology. Compare that to literally anywhere else, where 10 minutes means anywhere between now and whenever I feel like showing up, and being on time is treated like an optional personality trait instead of basic respect for other people's respective and inter's respect. This isn't about being rigid or obsessive, it's about understanding that time is the one resource everyone has equally, and wasting someone else's time is essentially saying, my schedule matters more than yours. When everyone operates on the assumption that punctuality is non-negotiable, society just works better. You're not stuck waiting. You're not anxious about whether someone will show up. You can plan your life with actual reliability instead of building in buffer time for other people's chaos. Psychologically, this creates trust. When systems are dependable, your brain doesn't have to stay in low-level anxiety mode, constantly scanning for problems. You can relax because you know things will happen when they're supposed to happen. And on a personal level, being on time forces you to respect your own commitments. You can't just drift through life on vibes and good intentions, you actually have to organize yourself, which builds discipline and self-respect. The Japanese aren't punctual because they're robots. They're punctual because they understand that reliability is a form of kindness. And honestly, if more people treated their word like it actually meant something, the world would be significantly less infuriating. Number 1. Embracing Wabi-Sabi and letting go of perfection. Here's the most important one, and it's going to mess with your brain a little. Wabi-Sabi is a Japanese aesthetic and philosophy that finds beauty in imperfection, impermanence, and incompleteness. A cracked teacup, a weathered wooden table, a flower that's slightly wilted. These aren't flaws to be fixed, they're evidence of a life being lived. In a world obsessed with Instagram-perfect aesthetics and relentless self-optimization, Wabi-Sabi says, actually, the cracks are the best part. Western culture has trapped people in this exhausting cycle of never being enough. Your body isn't right. Your career isn't impressive enough. Your home doesn't look like a magazine spread. So you're constantly chasing some impossible standard, and every time you get close, the goalpost moves. You're running on a treadmill of inadequacy, and it's making you miserable. Wabi-Sabi flips that entire mindset. It says that things become more beautiful because they're imperfect, not in spite of it. Psychologically, this is liberating. When you stop seeing flaws as failures, you stop wasting energy trying to hide them. You're not performing perfection anymore, you're just existing as a complex, imperfect human being, which is what you actually are. And here's the kicker. People connect more with imperfection than perfection. Perfection is cold, distant, unrelatable. Imperfection is human. It's warm. It's real. When you embrace Wabi-Sabi, you're not lowering your standards, you're rejecting a game you were never going to win. You're choosing presence over performance. And that might be the most radical, life-changing habit of all, because once you stop trying to be flawless, you can finally just be. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.